happy that the field dimensions will be preserved. I think converting the site from grass to artificial turf would be a mistake and a missed opportunity to maximize both the historical value, the youth activities, and the development potential, not just of the site itself, but of the surrounding Corktown area. I know that there are other lots nearby that we use for parking when the Tigers played there, such as Cochrane and K-Line Drive, and I feel that if more field is needed to, not put too much wear on the grass, I think those sites could be, I hope something could be worked out with the property owners and PAL to utilize those as well and develop more than just the corner site itself. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thomas?
Hello, I'm Attorney Thomas Levine, and I'm an advocate for medical marijuana patients and caregivers.
Good afternoon, Honorable Council. I'm here today as Vice Chair of the Metropolitan Detroit Community Action Coalition to discuss this Ordinance 61. I ask that Council move today for us to move forward with a public hearing. I will say this.
Anthony O'Donnell.
I'm sorry.
Anthony O'Donnell.
Okay, you have the floor.
Hi, I'm Anthony O'Donnell. I'm a Corktown resident, and I'm here on behalf of the discussion on the use of the property at Michigan and Trumbull. I believe that, like other people have said here today, that the natural grass of the field should be preserved for many reasons. Some of those reasons include the fact that it's a historic site with the grass, and I think that it would not really be considered a historic site once the grass is removed, which would then affect the tourism dollars that could be generated for the city of Detroit. Also, there are the health issues related to the use of artificial turf of any kind. None of the artificial turf has been proven to be safe for children. The only studies that have been done on the artificial turf of any kind has been by the manufacturers, which we all know those studies are biased. So, but the main thing is the history of the field will be destroyed if the grass is taken out, and that will drastically affect the value of the property and the value of the property to the city and the people around the city. So I would really appreciate if you guys could delay the transfer of the land until a meaningful discussion can be had with the Navin Field grounds crew and the other parties involved, including PAL. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Felicia Wasson? Followed by Joanne Warwick, followed by Michael Betzold.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the council. I'm Felicia Watson, Director of Public Policy and Communications for the Coca-Cola Company. But I'm also here today as a land transfer proposed by the EDC for the Tiger Stadium. I don't have to tell you all, but just wanted to add my voice to the people who support that ordinance because of all of the good work that's going on at Detroit PAL. Thousands of students are serviced and will continue to be able to do so through this project. I just wanted to lend my voice and our support through this land transfer and property conveyance. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Your name?
Michael Betzold.
Floor is yours.
I'm Michael Betzold. I'm a Detroit resident and longtime journalist. I've recently reported that most members of the old Tiger Stadium Conservancy regret the deal they brokered with PAL for Michigan and Trumbull. They never expected PAL to propose artificial turf. Also, I've reported that Tim Richey completely misrepresents MSU's John Rogers as an expert who backs artificial turf. He's just the opposite. PAL's research is highly selective and misleading. Sam Bernstein and Jeffrey Feiger are chomping at the bit. The first time a kid gets hurt or sick, the city will be sued for millions. The hazards of artificial turf are widely known. This project exposes you to tremendous liability. PAL has not yet raised half the money it says it needs for its showcase field. Major backers are starting to jump ship. The public won't have any more access unless they pay for a tour, and there won't be much left to see with the field covered up and carved up. By approving this project, the city is squandering a tremendous historical asset and teaching kids that the place where Jackie Robinson and Willie Horton played, where Joe Louis boxed, and where Nelson Mandela spoke is just an expendable piece of property. Please
Yes.
send the parties back to the table to make a better plan to share the field,
Your time is
including the
up.
Navin Field grounds crew.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Member
I don't
Spivey?
want time, but as we give our African-American history, it's also a big stadium and blacks were not allowed to see a game as well.
That is correct.
Same grass, I'm talking.
One moment, sir.
Grass field, Major Jackie Robinson, Willie Horton, I appreciate that. The people of color were not allowed to go to that field as well, had to sit on the outside and watch other people walk in. So if we're going to use historical facts, use all of them. Same time. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Ms. Warwick, Joanne Warwick?
Yes, hello. I came here to share my concerns about what I believe to be the unconstitutional blight takings by the Detroit Land Bank. That is that the program takes property.
Any discussion? Okay, I do have a question on line item 32. Thank you. And my question on line item 2 is for the land transfer of the Tiger Stadium site. And so it is my understanding that the land is going to be transferred for $1. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, Madam President, that is correct. But in it, may I add, Madam President?
Go ahead.
But in addition to that, the EDC board has an agreement to sell part of that property to $500,000 to the Tiger Stadium Partnership. And in turn, the agreement reads that that $500,000 will go to the city for that transfer.
Okay, so I guess my only question is, why is the land sale purchase, why is it going to be transferred for $1 and then the money is going to come back to the city? Is that kind of backwards?
Madam Chair, that is something that is somewhat common with these types of situations in regard to these types of land sales, because the reason this is being done this way is that the city is giving this property to the Economic Development Corporation to allow them the latitude to work out an agreement with the Tiger Stadium Partnership and PAL. The city itself could not make these same type of arrangements on its own in regard to passing along some of the property to PAL for little to no cost. Then at the same time, it does receive $500,000 for another part of the property. The city itself cannot do that. There are some laws which restrict what the city can do in regard to land agreements.
So, and one more question, just for the record, and I don't know if you can answer it because I have had an opportunity to speak with them. And my question is in regards to hiring and what percentage of Detroiters will be hired in this project.
Madam President, I believe that the Economic Development Corporation, the JET team is here and they could perhaps provide you some answers in that regard.
Okay, and I just want it on the record, so if you can come to the table, please.
Eric.
Madam President.
And it's going to be very brief. Member Spivey?
That's my question. I know they came to the committee last week and had a very thorough conversation. And,
I just want it on the
how many
record.
jobs, right.
And I've had an opportunity to talk to them, and so we don't need a long discussion. I just want to know, just for the record, what are you going to do in regards to Detroit hiring?
Brian Holdwick of the Economic Development Corporation. And I'll turn it over to Eric and Tim to talk about their community outreach and hiring.
Just jobs,
Madam Chair, Eric Larson, Tiger Stadium Partners and Larson Realty Group. Thank you for this opportunity. We've committed to a comprehensive workforce program and recruiting plan. It's very similar to the one that is being used and I think fairly effective on the Red Wing development. Doug Diggs of Heritage Development is running that program for us and has designed that program along the same lines, and it commits to 30% Detroit businesses and 51% minimum, 51% Detroit workforce.
Okay. All right, thank you. I just wanted it on the record. President Pro Tem Cushenberry Jr.
What's this controversy, if I may, Madam President, over artificial or regular turf? I'm not understanding what's going on, where it came from. What is it about?
Can you very briefly
Sure.
tell us?
Sure. Tim Richey, CEO of Detroit PAL. Our goal with the project is to try to retain as much as authenticity with the site as we can while providing as many children and participants to actually program the field as possible. And our research and the studies that we've done and who we've consulted with has shown that a natural surface will not withstand the type of programming that we envision. For instance, if it's raining on a Saturday and we're trying to play football out there, any of the turf experts will tell you to not play that day or to limit participation on the field. And our goal is to try to program as heavily as possible. And so for that reason, we've chosen to go with a synthetic surface in order to really program the site heavily and provide as many kids as possible a chance to play.
Thank you.
And then also, I just want to indicate that I did receive a letter from the president and CEO of the Lear Corporation indicating that they will no longer be providing any funding to PAL because of the opposition of the refusal to discuss alternatives, address concerns raised by donors, and several issues that they have. So just wanted to put that on the record since they did send me this letter. Okay.
Yeah, if you don't mind, obviously unfortunate. We think highly of all of the donors who contribute to PAL. They're critically important to our service to young people throughout the entire city. I'm not of the belief that we haven't communicated effectively with donors and with others in this regard. I think that we have been as forward and as open thinking as we could be in the situation. It's just, the goal of ours to service young people and the entire Detroit region at this site really doesn't give us another option other than synthetic turf surface. And so while we certainly appreciate all of our donors and are regretful that the president of Lear felt that way, we still feel confident in the decision we're making, and we feel of the utmost confidence is going to benefit thousands and thousands of kids for years to come. And that's what our mission is, and that's what we intend to accomplish, while at the same time providing an incredible facility that we think the entire Detroit region and the state will be very proud of when it's accomplished.
Okay, thank you. Member Castaneda Lopez.
Thank you. Thank you. And just I wanted to clarify for the record. So we did submit a memo asking PAL to submit additional information about potential costs of installing grass versus artificial turf, as well as further explanation around the proposed organic material to be used on the site. For me, honestly speaking, the public access is the most important component for me. We did receive additional answers and information related to the turf options, as well as the public access. And so I just had a question through the chair to Mr. Whitaker, because there's a portion of the funds that can only be used at the space as a public park. I think about 3 million of them. And I think you verbally answered this before, but you could just state for the record. So proposed in PAL, I think, is a total 15 hours of public access per week. And so just for clarity, Mr. Whitaker, can you state as to whether that's in compliance with the restrictions placed on the federal funding, if that would constitute access in terms of a public park?
Yes, we looked at that, and we do think that that is sufficient.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's helpful just for public record to know. And then the last component is just kind of placemaking initiatives, and I did talk to Cal about to what extent they'll be putting public seating outside and making sure that there's different features that really promote stationary activities of people who are walking around and really can integrate well with the surrounding community. But I think all of my questions have been answered overall in relation to public access, as well as the type of material to be used in the facility. So thank you. And I did attend several meetings where PAL and Larson groups were present. Our office, way back early in the year when we first heard about the development, did host an initial meeting with the CDC. So hopefully residents feel informed about the development. Thank you.
Member Ayers?
Thank you. Just really quickly with the information that Council President just provided, I know that Lear and their affiliates are heavy donors, so does that adversely affect the ability for this project to go forward just from a monetary basis?
No, it won't. Not this project at all. And while we certainly, as I mentioned earlier, appreciate all of our donors, you know, I do not see this adversely affecting either the project or Detroit PAL.
Thank you.
Member Leland? I'm sorry, Member Benson?
Madam President, to PAL, we had the conversation during committee regarding the ability for someone to take up the sod, relay it at one of our existing parks. I know there's a cost associated with that, and there's going to be a conversation with the Detroit Tigers organization. Have we had that conversation? And has anybody stepped forward to identify themselves as being willing to take up the sod so it can be relayed somewhere else for posterity purposes?
My understanding was that Matt Walters from the city had agreed to contact the Tigers. As far as I know, that was done, and I don't want to speak for him, so I don't know if you'd like to invite him to the table.
And if I may,
You know what? Let me say this. I indicated it would be a very brief discussion, and I meant that. It's 10 after 4. And I know that it is our last day, and this has been in committee. I was just something that I wanted on the record. I don't want to be in here to 5 o'clock still be discussing the old Tiger Stadium and the PAL use of this. And we have 3 people sitting at the table and another 4th person that wants to come to the table. Member Benson, have you talked to the committee, or did you have someone in the committee that could answer your questions?
Mr. Walters.
Okay. If you can just briefly, and I'm cutting this conversation, I'm cutting this in 2 minutes.
I'll be 30 seconds. I spoke with the Village organization yesterday. It was a positive conversation. We will further that conversation in the next coming weeks to see if there is a monetary support for the removal and transportation of the sod, relocation of the sod.
Could you give your name and title?
Matthew Walters, Executive Manager of the Jobs and Economy Team.
if I may add, we added that to the development agreement, so it allows the EDC or the city the flexibility to remove the sod at its cost.
Okay. Thank you, Member Benson. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
The motion has been made for the resolutions, line items. Mr. Clerk, which ones?
26 and 42.
Madam President,
Member Benson?
I believe there's a request to remove line item number 39.
Okay. There was a request. What, did you want to vote on that separately or remove it? What was that request? Because I missed it.
It was to remove line item number 39. Chair.
Did you get that, Mr. Clerk?
Yes.
Okay. The motion was made to remove line item 39. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is approved. So, again, what are we voting on, Mr.
26 and 42 with the removal of line item number 39.
All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, the resolutions are approved. From the Public Works Department, City Engineering Division.
Councilmember Benson, a resolution, line number 43 on today's.
Member Benson, this is a resolution authorizing the petition of Tactic Solutions on behalf of Hope of Detroit Academy, request to outright vacate certain public rights of way bound by Ridge Street, Buchanan Street, 35th Street, and Junction Street. Member Benson.
Madam President, move for approval line item number 43.
All those in favor of approving the resolution, let the clerk note that Member Tate has stepped away, Member Sheffield has stepped away. Signify by saying aye. Are there any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution is approved. Under resolutions.
Councilmember Leland, 3 resolutions, lines 44 through 46 on today's provincial agenda.
Member Leland, these are resolutions authorizing assignments of secondary street name to Farnsworth Street at Woodward